All right, we are rolling.
You notice how I have the headphone only in one ear because it's not coming out of this ear, but I kind of look badass like a DJ.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DJ Smets coming to you live from the core world. Coruscant.
Okay.
The entire planet, one big city.
City party all night long. Welcome to Scoundrels, Inc. This is the next episode of our fantastic show. We are missing our beloved Sean Sullivan. We can't get all four of us together.
We killed him.
We killed him. He's dead.
For money.
Just like we killed Brandon, but then he came back.
Yeah, Brandon came back, but he's dead like Nemik. But yeah, so my name is Kevin Smets. I will be hosting your festivities today. Alongside me, we got the great Frank Janisch and Brandon, the hot man, Hanna.
I was told I would be introduced first.
Oh, yeah, he actually in the show notes was supposed to do that. But he's like right here, so
I'm
I
right
thought
here.
it'd be easier. I do want to make a note that thank you, Frank, for giving me this shirt. He got me
Great
this
shirt.
Great. Yeah, I think it says Coca-Cola in Arabic.
It does.
I don't know. It could say something rude, like I'm a douchebag or something, and I don't know because I don't read.
I don't even think that's actual Arabesh because I can still make out the words Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Well, it's like faux-besh. I don't know.
Faux-besh.
So thank you for this. He actually gave it to me because I was complaining about how I always look fat on camera on this show. And if you notice, I cleverly put the Captain Rex helmet right there to kind of hide it. You know, I'm a work in progress. You know, first journey of 1,000 miles takes one or two steps. And right now I'm on like the second step. But I'm lifting. I'm working.
Okay.
Right? How you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah,
you good? Are you
swole,
happy with your
bro.
weight? How's everybody happy with their
What?
weight?
What is this, Weight Watchers?
It's okay. Frank's going to fix it in post.
I'm going to do my best.
Uh-oh, he's
but
gonna have
the
another
technology
diatribe.
may not exist, Brandon.
Oh, it exists.
Well, look,
Come on.
we got a lot to cover today. We have the end of that
You
three
think
episode.
Kim Kardashian really looks like that?
We have the end of that 3-episode arc, which was fantastic. We're going to go over in depth. We don't have that much news today, but we do have a news nugget, and it's brought to you by a new episode name for the new news, because that's our plan. It's the bit, I guess. It's called Nanta's News Nuggets. Do you know who Nanta is?
I don't.
You don't know who Nanta is,
No.
Hannah?
My
do you know
Nana?
No, I'm
Nanta?
not talking about your Nana.
Nana's news.
Star Wars fans, do you know who Nanta is? 5, 4, 3, 2. Nanta is, well, he was referred to as Corpsey before he was given a name. It is Corpsey.
Oh.
He was the
I just said
lone.
Corpsey,
He was
like a
one. I
dead
think it's the
corpse.
only Ewok you see shot on camera in Return of the Jedi. And let me tell you, when that was re-released before Episode 7, I went to see it in the theater, and when Nanta got shot and killed, the audience cheered.
Wow.
And that was very disturbing.
That's
Wait, the scene where the other Ewok is like
the audience cheered
nudging
when the,
him
yes.
and then crying over his corpse.
Yeah.
That's
That's
messed
sad.
up.
Yeah,
That's messed up, man.
they were cheering it on. I think it was just part of that crew of like,
The
oh,
80s were a wild time,
That's
man.
like a core childhood memory of like, oh, this is what loss feels like.
Yes, right. It's the first moment of loss. So rest in peace, Nanta, but your legacy lives on with
Yub
Frank's
nub.
Nanta's News Nugget. Frank, what do you got for us?
So the only thing that came across my social media browsing was Ahmed Best. He tweeted out that he has a one-man show that he was going to do before the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, he couldn't do it. And now it seems like he's going to do a one-man show about Jar Jar and everything that happened with that, like the real story. So go check out his tweet. He has like a little screenshot of the front cover of his script or whatever it's going to be. So I do find that pretty interesting. I thought I remember hearing about that a while ago, but obviously a while ago was the start of the pandemic. So I think a one-man show about Jar Jar told by Ahmed Best, the guy who took so much vitriol from this community, would be very interesting to hear directly from him. I know he's spoken on it before, but in his own controlled setting, I think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, you talk about a man that was probably, I mean, I think some people were probably in on like, oh, Jar Jar's not going to be well liked, but I think Ahmed Best gave it his best, pun intended, but like I think he did a good job at what he was given. I think George Lucas did not expect the backlash that he had, and so imagine you're voicing and playing a character that you thought might be the new Chewbacca of the series, right? The new Chewbacca of the trilogy, and for him to get so shit on must have been really hard for him, and I can't imagine kind of what that would go through as like when you do something that everybody hates, like, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, he's also like a pioneer of like motion capture and performance capture technology. Like Jar Jar Binks walked so that Gollum could run, so that Caesar could fly.
Dude, for real. No, 100%. That's a good way to put it. So
Very
yeah, it'd be really interesting to see when his show is, where it's at, and how long it'll run. But maybe we'll go see it. But because there's another,
I'd be down.
Show.
Let's
There's
go.
another show we might go see.
Well, we'll do double feature. We'll see that first.
The
and then
Empire Strips Back, the burlesque show.
We'll see some Jar Jar Binks,
we'll
and then
see
we'll
it.
see some Jar Jar boobs.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
there you go.
Maybe Ahmed Best will come with us.
Dude,
Come with, yeah.
can you imagine that? He would. What if, and then halfway through the show, he's like, "Misa's so happy."
Misa's so happy, Kevin.
I can't imagine that at all. Like that's how so far fetched of an idea that is.
Oh, it's happening.
Ahmed Best would. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll go with you, strangers.
Everybody
A burlesque
tweet at
show.
Ahmed Best. All of our huge fan base tweet at him.
All
Tweet
17.
at him. Hey, all 17 of you, tweet at Ahmed Best saying, "Please go to the Empire Strips Back with the Scoundrels."
Do you think he can still do the Jar Jar voice?
Yeah, it's his voice.
If you
He
can
just has
do
to
it.
talk.
Well, no, that's not his
I mean,
voice.
not his real voice.
Hello, it's me, Ahmed Best. Misa got a one-man show. Come and get a looky-looky.
I didn't
got the role. He didn't even
and
do
he's
a
just
voice.
like, yeah, he walked in the room. First word, he's like, "You got it,
Sold. Yeah, that's our Jar Jar.
He's like, "What? I didn't even do anything." He's like, "Oh, yeah, go up there."
Misa not do anything, Pompad.
"Oh man." All
okay.
right. Well, let's go on to the show then. I mean, there's not that much. Usually, it takes us a little longer to get here, but I really wanted to focus on this episode because there's so much to digest, so much to unpack, and I'm sure you guys want to talk about it too. So we're gonna get right into it. It's called Andor. It was episode 6.
Heard of it.
Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Nope, sorry. Episode 6, The Eye. The Eye.
Sauron.
So, firstly,
Wrong franchise.
given this, and I want to start broad, and then we're going to go in and we'll just go through the show. But I want to start broad and just ask you guys. Finally we see the arc build, and it arrives to a proper conclusion for this arc. Was the heist worth the hype? Was the build up worth it? Did they land the plane? What do you think? How did they end up? Was it a successful story arc?
I thought it was definitely worth the hype. I was hyped before the episode even aired, based on episodes 4 and 5 and how they were building these characters, setting it up, and telling us their plan and getting more background on these characters, which, as we found out, some of it might not be true, might not be, who knows, and we may never know. And I felt like once the episode really got into the heist part of it, I was just completely enthralled. I was on the... honestly, here's how I watched it. I was in my room.
No, not out here anymore.
Well, I was in my room.
Gotcha.
And all the lights were off. Had my speakers, nice and loud, obviously. And I'm literally like on the edge of my bed, just like leaning over, watching this episode. And from the very beginning, I mean, like the music cues, everything. I was just like, holy crap! I can't believe like this is happening. It was so intense, despite we know that like Cassian, obviously he's gonna live, right?
Yeah.
But even with that knowledge, the writing on the show, the direction on the show, or this episode made it so that I was still caught up in everything else, that you kind of forget that, yeah, Cassian, he actually dies in Rogue One, but I'm still so caught up in everything, and it's due to all the other characters they built out, really, with Skeen and Vel and Cinna and Korn, everybody, just like Nemik. I mean, obviously,
the success.
They open up with Nemik, and I'm like, oh no, oh, no.
He's done when they're opening up with him.
Oh no.
Yeah, Ahmed Best was on set that day.
Yeah.
What do you got, Brendan?
Yeah.
I loved everything about this episode. I think is it like cheap to say it's the best episode of the season so far, just because it's like the most action packed and like visually stunning with that
good question.
meteor shower, and
Yeah,
everything about it is just so good, and the way it ends is like, it's like I want to know what happens next.
yeah.
Yeah,
The way both arcs end, you don't really know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Like at the episode 3, we're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I assume Andor is going to be with Luthen, maybe go to Coruscant, or this could happen. Same thing with this episode. you don't really know where Andor is going to go next,
Yeah,
or any of these characters.
It's like when you see a movie and like you're done with the movie and you don't know after you see the end of episode 2, the Attack of the Clones, you don't know what the first scene of the Revenge of the Sith is going to be. So you're excited. I don't think there'll be a jump in time yet, but I think it'll be. We don't know. You're right. Absolutely.
Because there's definitely like I want to talk about like specifics at the end of the episode, but I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah, no,
we'll get there.
I'm gonna hold off,
But yeah, I would say it was the best. I would say it's not cheap to say. I think that's this episode that brought it above Obi-Wan for me. So
wow, okay,
yeah,
now it's there.
I think it's just like tied. Right now it's like on your left. It's like on your left, right? If there was the meme. Yeah, he's coming up quick. So but yeah, let's get into the story. So basically the show, as you said, opens up with Nemik. And he's talking with Andor, and he talks about the role of mercenaries in any sort of rebellion and the struggle for freedom, and how he talks about weapons are tools. And then the great line from Cassian where he says, "You are nothing to them." So, do you agree or disagree with Nemik about the use of mercenaries, and that would that change the face of a rebellion? Do you think that the rebellion suffer from that, or as we see, we have the gift of foresight that like Han Solo ends up, being a pretty big part to the rebellion?
This was a interesting question because when episode 5 ends and Cassian has revealed, I'm getting paid to do this, and even Nemik I think says you're getting paid. Like that's like the part that he focused in on, while everyone else was like trying to still figure out what Cassian's motives are, blah blah blah. And so I was wondering what Nemik would make of Cassian as a hired gun, a mercenary, and he rationalized it as like you're a tool. You're a tool for you're a weapon. The Empire has no kind of boundaries or morals or morality when it comes to this sort of thing. Why should we? And so he rationalized it for the cause basically. And he's like, I'm glad you're here. It doesn't matter that you're getting paid. You're here to help a purpose, and I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good call. He literally is saying that before they ever have that conversation. So we kind of know what's in his head. Brandon, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? And also going on with what did you think of Cassian just basically trying to tell him like, look, you're nothing to them either way?
Yeah, I think Frank like took the words right out of my mouth. Like that's him trying to rationalize things.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, like how do I come to terms with working with a mercenary? I have to like compartmentalize this somehow, and like, okay, here's this nice box that I can fit this into, and he has to like write everything down. He's got his manifesto, which I want to talk about more later.
I want that manifesto.
This Galaxy's Edge.
You never want to have a manifesto. Is usually like, isn't that usually a bad thing? Like a manifesto is like when a shooter and publishes the manifesto an hour before.
My mind normally goes towards Jerry Maguire when he like has his manifesto.
That's a memo. That's a memo.
Or mission statement.
Yeah,
that's right. That's the whole point. It was a mission statement.
Same thing.
Yeah, manifesto I always think is bad, but then again we'll get into later like how sometimes it can be gray area, like who's good and bad.
You frame it as a manifesto it's because it's more of like this kind of religious type of. You're more or less you're following this type of in a religious manner, I guess. So I think it gets that connotation of a manifesto as because Skeen put it that way first, right?
Yeah.
So, and in Skeen, I think we kind of figure out how he looks at this whole situation and why he would call it a manifesto. But Nemik doesn't shoot it down either.
Yeah.
So he kind of calls it just a bunch of ideas.
Yep.
So it's kind of nebulous in terms of would Nemik think of it as a manifesto? I don't know.
And that'll pop up later in the episode. We'll get to it about.
And I like how like Cassian, he stays like complicated and he's like a very like nuanced character. Like he's not immediately like, yeah, like I'm like just a mercenary and I'm here for hire. Like he says something like, "Oh, well, you're half right."
Yeah,
and it's like he's like he always says something that you don't expect him to say.
He kind of meets you halfway. In a sense. So
because he's like he clearly has like a moral code that like he follows Cassian.
Yeah.
And like he is like a thief and like a quote unquote mercenary, but he also like has like firm beliefs and like and like a moral compass and like honor, which I think is really important. And that comes up later.
Quote,
in the
no
episode
honor amongst
well.
thieves does not apply to Mr. Cassian Andor.
I mean, he kind of is a thief. He just stole 80 million credits.
I'll tell you at the end of
credits will do fine.
credits will do fine. Every episode, I just want to watch Rogue One again. Like,
Honestly,
I'm
yes.
trying to hold off because I want to. Like, I can't imagine what Rogue One's gonna feel like after watching this series in full. But like, I feel like every episode is making Rogue One even better and better and better. Just like they said, the Clone Wars shows make Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith better and better and better. And I think that this show's doing that.
There was also another part, kind of extending from this scene with Nemik, though. He was like, I couldn't sleep at all. And, he talks about how he writes when he sleeps, and we'll get into what he wrote at the end of this episode because I think that's very key.
Mm-hmm.
But he also is like, I need to be at my best. And Andor goes, believe me, when the shit hits the fan, the adrenaline's going to kick in. You're going to be just fine. And then when they're on that line about to go into the garrison or whatever, he's like, you know what? I am not tired at all.
Yeah, I love that.
Just like, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "You'll sleep when we're done," which is just such great.
I heard that too.
That reminded me of one of my favorite movies, Glory, when Matthew Broderick's character Robert Goldschmidt tells Andre Braugher's character Thomas, right before the final battle, he says, "I'll see you in the fort, Thomas." Like on this suicide mission, and you're like, "You ain't seeing anyone in the fort, dude." Like, oh, look at that, goosebumps. Let's
this
get a
guy
goosebump.
has
count.
like a disease of goosebumps.
Oh, I love it. Things just get.
You need to wear more layers. I think.
I don't think. I think it's more. Yeah, things just touch me too easily. That's not bad. Let's talk about Mr.
I can't. Do you want to switch seats with me, Brandon?
No.
Well, you're not touching me.
Yeah, I know, but like,
I'm not getting
Absolutely
goosebumps because
not.
you're touching me. I'm getting goosebumps because Star Wars is Star Wars. You get goosebumps.
Okay.
All right. Look at my hair standing on my thing. Okay. So let's talk about Commander J-Hold Bihaz.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just call him J-Hold for the rest of the thing.
Jagoff.
Yeah, Jagoff. This is Jagoff show. You see J-Hold actually mocking the Andal and Aldani? Is that how we're saying it? Aldani?
So the planet they're on is Aldani, and he calls the residents Donnies.
Donnies, okay, yeah. He's mocking the Donnies, saying how they're slowly integrating them into their culture, and they're just going to wipe out their culture eventually, and how easily manipulated they are. Which calls to me a lot. It brings back to, if you remember. Well, we don't remember, we weren't alive then, but with the British colonials, when they were running their colonies, they were slowly, with the indigenous tribes everywhere they were taking over, they were slowly pushing out their culture and making them start to dress their certain way until some of the colonies obviously started rising up. So I like that. I like when there's always real world applications to some of these fantastical storylines. So, what do you guys think of the Aldani pilgrims and their look? And what did you think of Mr. J-Hold's claims of how easily manipulated they are? And that'll lead into later when we kind of see that maybe they're not being so manipulated after all. But what do you think of the Aldani?
The Donnies.
Sorry.
The
Donnies.
I mean, obviously, it mirrors kind of our colonialism throughout the world and how empires or dynasties or what have you would come in or go into other lands and displace the people that were there before them. And so I thought it was also kind of apropos, given that earlier this week we celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus or whatever. And so I thought, oh well, that's kind of that and that
on point.
Kind of,
on
that
brand.
all connects. So again, real world kind of applications and a fantastical world mirroring our world, but just in a completely different setting, which can lead to, especially I think for younger viewers, lessons to learn, which has always been a great thing about Star Wars, is to take away lessons from different stories or movies or shows or what have you, and apply that in your everyday life. And that's one of the things I love about Star Wars, is that you're able to do that in so many different ways with so many different mediums of animation, live action, books, comics, what have you. So this was just another demonstration, to me at least, of doing that, and it's easy to relate to, because I guess the older that you are, you probably have read up or have been taught at some point in your life about especially if us Americans coming in and we still have Indian reservations or Native American reservations.
Oh, so I got reservations to the restaurant after the show. Is that what you're talking about?
You believe this guy? You believe this guy right now? right now.
Yard house reservations. We're gonna get wings, all flats.
It's Mambo style.
Mambo style, yeah.
Mambo style.
That's because he likes to dip it in the barbecue.
Listen, you don't get wings. This drives Kaiser nuts. Who's from Buffalo, which is funny because Buffalo wings, get it? But he's a Buffalo, whatever. He's from Rochester, but he loves Buffalo. Whatever. Long story short, he makes fun of me of the way I get my wings because I like to order them all flats, which only Yard House does. So, pro tip: if you like all flats, go to Yard House. And
if you're in California, Los Angeles,
I get the hot. I get hot, right? I'll do the hot wings challenge anytime, but I like it hot, and then I get a side of barbecue that I dip inside, and I call it Mambo style because there was an old place called Wings and Things where that was what it was called, and so they make fun of me all the time
it's
about
so
my wings
funny
ordering.
because I can almost say your order verbatim to the waiter or waitress, whatever, and because I like to, especially when you guys can I get a side of barbecue sauce because I like to dip my wings in it. It kills me every time.
I do give them. I literally give them. You're
and
right.
he does this too. He's like, I like to.
I did that literally last weekend. You're right. Oh my god, they're not asking
I've
for
had
info.
wings with you hundreds of times. I feel like so I know it.
They don't care what I'm going to do with the
I know,
barbecue
they don't,
sauce.
because most of the time we don't have the same person except when we sit in the one section, and then that's a whole.
Then there's
other
that
thing.
one
That's
guy,
the
and
one
he kinda
guy.
sucks.
You should say, I'm going to get a side of barbecue sauce. Don't ask what for.
It's none of your damn business. I'll thank you to stay on my purse
You
first.
will give me a side of barbecue sauce.
No, I won't.
Speaking of lessons, though, Brandon, do you
Yeah.
feel like the Empire learns its lessons from this Danny stuff?
Donnie.
Sorry, Donnie. I'm thinking.
It's not that hard.
I keep thinking of Game of Thrones Danny when I hear that.
Sure.
Right. So the Aldani situation. You think the Empire learned its lesson? I don't think so, but because moving forward, how they always dealt with the Wookiees in Episode 3 and how they deal with the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi.
I don't know why.
I just think about Kitty Mundy's line. Every time I hear someone say Wookiee.
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Every time someone says the word Wookiee, I can't. It just.
But what about the droid attack from the Wookiees?
It kills me.
On the Wookiees.
Oh, man.
They're not the ones attacking. They're defending.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun.
I just want. Can someone use that AI technology to make John Lennon say, "I am the Wookiee"?
There was a KOTOR Easter egg where one of the characters says, "I did it all for the Wookiees." Yeah, the Wookiees, which is like based on that Limp Bizkit song, because I guess he was a KOTOR fan or something.
Wow.
Or the BioWare was a fan of.
Wait, so what were you gonna say, Brandon?
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't think the Empire learns their lesson at all. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a secret additional cutaway at the end of Return of the Jedi where the Donnies take down the Empire on the planet as the second Death Star's blowing up, and they're all they're celebrating, and it happens to coalesce with the meteor shower, and they're dancing in celebration, and there's dead stormtroopers everywhere.
That'd be great.
Yes.
That'd be great.
And there's another Star Destroyer in the sky, split from the Holdo maneuver, but it's also with the. Oh my god!
And it's getting hit by meteors.
Listen, Disney. Hire us. We'll do the special edition of Return of the Jedi. It'll
George
be
Lucas
fantastic.
is listening to this going, that sounds pretty good.
May the eye find the good in all of us. May the eye find the good in all of us. And
to address your question, did the Imperials learn? When Cassian's talking to Nemik, he goes, the Empire, they don't learn because they don't have to.
Yes.
They don't have to learn. So they will do whatever they want, whenever they want. They don't have to learn people's, it goes back to even Cyril and Morlana and the Primor corporate security about going to Ferrix, and they're like, they don't. One of the attendants on the consoles is like, well, they have a certain way of doing things, and he's like, I don't care. It should make it easier, whatever Cyril says, and that's an extension. They're an extension of the Imperial machine, right? So they don't think they have to learn. The Empire doesn't think they have to adjust, whatever. They're just going to go in, pillage and forage it, whenever they want. And so, they're not going to learn from
absolutely
the people on Aldani, the Donnies. So
Andor's basically calling that he's like the Empire will never learn from anything. So that's why they had the same. They didn't care about the Ewoks. They didn't realize those little bastards can put up a fight. You know what I mean? Yep.
There it is.
Well, now we get into the heist. Finally, now we're talking. Talk about James Bond in space. Let's be honest. This had infiltration. You had an underwater sequence.
Oh, the underwater was like so
with
when
the asteroid or the thing
I was
going
thinking
on
about this is very
water.
James Bondy.
Yeah, very
Cinta
James Bond.
and Vel go. I'm like, that's some Navy SEAL shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what SEAL Team 6 would do.
I was like, that's some Pierce Brosnan era
It is,
James
yeah.
Bond.
It was very
like,
GoldenEye with that one base, and it wanted me to play the N64 game again. But you got Tamarin, Skeen, Andor, and Nemik. They disguise themselves as Imperial guards to welcome the Aldani pilgrims.
There you go.
Got it. Yeah. Vel and Cinta prepare, and they enter through the underwater route. Now, did you guys feel like after the 2 episodes of planning that they pulled this off? And I'm talking now more at this moment, the very beginning of the heist, editorially speaking, music, visuals. How did you feel going into this? What was your feelings as the heist begins after 2 episodes? Let's be honest, 5 episodes of build.
So if any of you have watched the movie Heat, this all reminded me kind of like Heat in Star Wars. Like this was Heat. This was The Town. We've seen that with Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
This is because it doesn't go exactly according to plan. First of all, the heist. They have to kind of think on the fly in some spots. But the music, the tension, Vel not initially giving the go ahead when they're in place.
Yes.
And Cinta's the ones like, yo, come on.
Why was
come
she,
on.
by the way, sitting there right there?
Because I think Vel, Cassian talked about it in the episode before. There's a difference between being afraid and losing your nerve.
Yes.
And Vel was, and he was right, because Vel was starting to lose her nerve in that moment, at least. And so I thought, that's what I thought about, at least that line when Cassian about what Cassian said, and then watching Vel not pull the trigger. And even I think, was there someone else who was also timid? I think.
We're not talking about Tim anymore, are we?
Yeah.
Don't mention Tim to this guy. We'll never hear the end of it.
Moment of silence for Tim. Made a mean cup of calf.
Made a mean cup of calf. So mean that he had to call the corporate security or something.
Listen, I never said he wasn't a snitch.
It was snitch juice is what it was.
Snitches
Sounds disgusting.
are people too.
Yeah, they are. And some of them are actually dead people.
Snitches get ditches.
They do get ditches, sometimes stitches.
Okay.
But they never get.
You notice the comm sound effects, by the way, is the same comm sound
wait,
effect.
that's what I wanted to
execute Order 66.
Oh, so,
Same
I
be
want
done,
to say
my
they say
Easter egg.
Echo 1 over the radio.
yeah.
I was like, yes. Echo 1.
Were you just Leonardo DiCaprio in that meme where he's like that?
Yeah.
You literally even did that.
They did. They said it.
They said it.
They said the thing. I was like, hell yeah. Echo 1 started on this mission. Like, that's pretty sweet.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. You know what I also didn't realize too? I'm so stupid. We all know that, obviously. But I realized that the Alliance, okay? You're going to laugh at me. So the rebellion, right? We all think of it, but they always call it the Alliance. And it's because there are so many pockets of rebellion out there that finally it's going to be Mon Mothma and everybody coming together to bring the Alliance, to align all of these rebel cells. It never hit. It kind of finally hit on me today. Look, I had my first burrito at the age of 24, and I went to San Diego State. So that's another story. But yeah, I finally realized that the Alliance meant basically the alliance of all the rebellions into one. Like the United States of Rebellion, basically, is what they are. The United States of Rebellion.
I realized that with Rogue One.
It took you that long? Well, what am I talking about? I just found out right now.
Here's another thing I kind of was also thinking about was in the previous episode when Deidre and her assistant is like, it's too random to be random. It actually is, I think, random enough to be random because there's all these pockets of cells. If you like in this timeline, Hera, that whole crew is doing their whole thing out there. They have no idea about this rebel camp.
Goosebumps again, dude, knowing Rebels is taking place. He doesn't know about Rebels. He doesn't watch Rebels because he's a horrible person who doesn't watch Rebels.
Out there.
So it's random in a sense that no one really knows what everybody else is doing out there, and
we don't even know what Leia's doing at this time.
Exactly, we don't know that. But also, like that's also as you
Or her
get
little
further
droid.
into as the alliance gets further built, that's also kind of by design. You find that out in Rebels, like you're not supposed to really know about other cells.
Do you geek out that it happened at the same time as Rebels? Do you geek out about it because you love that show Rebels?
No.
Yeah.
He's never seen.
I've seen clips. I've got the gist of it.
You got the gist. You don't have the experience.
I'm going to circle back to Rebels because I got some more about Rebels too. But we'll jump ahead to the meeting between the chieftain and J-Hold. Which then the chieftain burns that ceremonial goat skin or whatever. But man, we were here, I wanted to in my notes write the ghost line down, but I forgot, and then it just happened to be on here, and I got to write it down. Tell him our ghosts have strong hands and long memories. That is what he's asking to be translated. And of course, Gorn says something a little more suiting to his superior officer because he doesn't want to get in trouble or whatnot. And if you notice, the chieftain gives a look like, hey, that's not what I said. What are you doing?
Yeah. He knows basic.
Speaks basic.
Yeah.
Guy.
So here's what I ask. My question to you guys is, because the chieftain is making veiled shots at the Empire with that epic so many epic lines in this series I don't understand, dude. Do you feel that the Donnie pilgrims were not so easily manipulated, and they knew what the score was, and eventually they would have an uprising? Or do you just feel how does it make you feel knowing that Chieftain was able to kind of make that veiled shot, Brandon?
Yeah, I think it's like really important because it shows what we were talking about, that like they're not as dumb as the Empire thinks, and that's gonna come back to bite the Empire in the ass later on. Like you said, we've seen it with like the Ewoks and everything. Like this is something that's clearly happened on multiple planets all across the galaxy. The Empire underestimates these like native people from these planets that they're colonizing.
Yes.
And it's going to hurt them in the long run because their ghosts have strong hands and long memories, dude. They're not going to forget. Return of the Jedi comes around, that second Death Star blow-ups. You think they forgot? They didn't forget.
And that's why our special edition of Return of the Jedi is going to be so powerful.
Next thing you know, the Empire's like up on a bunch of comms on that planet. They're like, what's going on? The second Death Star blow up? What's happening? All of a sudden, whack, back of the head, uprising. Boom, right there.
Oh, I wish we could have someone animate.
It's like a horror movie.
Whew. That is fantastic.
And that dude who like said that thing is like still alive, and
That
he's just like
dude.
Smiling, like watching the meteor
Just up
shower.
there,
Like
yeah,
hell
dude.
yeah, dude.
Or he's like a ghostly visage in like a fire flight. You know what I mean? Like he appears in like the fire because he's like an old chieftain. By the way, he kind of looked like Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, he
Yes, he did. He
I had
did.
that same
I was like,
thought.
this guy looks familiar. He also looks like the actor that played in Lost World, who's the hunter.
Pete Postlethwaite. Why are you
Yeah.
asking him and not the current
Well, he
reigning
loves Jurassic
and
Park,
forever
that's why I was-
inner geekdom champion
Alright,
of the world?
You're talking about
Pete Postlethwaite. Roland Tembo.
Yeah.
you're talking about Roland Tembo.
Yeah. I thought he kind of looked like, even though he has passed, I believe.
He
Yes.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in peace,
Yeah.
Mr. P Squared, as I like to call him. So they begin their
I don't see
heist
it.
now inside. Now things go a little hairy when one of the Imperials actually pulls a hero stunt, if you think about it, and switches the gun on Andor, I believe, or whoever's putting the gun on. So basically, they put the guns on everybody in that small room.
Oh, so
And-
after they march up.
yeah,
they
they
get into
march
the
up. So
room,
yeah, I
Gorn
jumped
gets
ahead a little
in
bit.
there.
So Gorn gets him in there, and then all of a sudden they put the gun to the kid's head, and one,
Yeah.
I believe
Messed up.
his name is Pedigar. Pedigar decides to play the hero route, and actually,
Oh, the engineer that everyone was like, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Who can it be? Is it Galen? Like,
imagine,
it's Krennic?
imagine
really
if that was
cool.
Mads
And then-
Mikkelsen, though, guy.
Oh my God,
Just
it's like
kidding.
WandaVision all over.
I'm like-
again.
Yeah. So it ends up being Pedigar, who, by the way, a cool character in his own right, because here it is. It's showing you that not just because you are on the Empire side doesn't mean that you want the end the destruction of good and everything. Some people are just working for the Empire because they want to make money, right? Or they that's just they're believing
Born
the
into
cause.
it, maybe even.
Yeah, they might be into it, but they're not trying to kill people. So when he sees a kid is being hostage, he literally pulls the gun and says, dude, holds Nemik hostage and says, dude, let the kid go. Let the kid go. Which is like, there's your first shades of gray. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a little cynical in this, in that he was like, well, a kid's a good bartering tool.
You don't think? Oh no,
I don't think he really gave a shit. He was just trying to get out of that situation, and he's like, well, morally, we all know we shouldn't
Interesting.
really at least hold a kid hostage. I can use that against them because.
I think
and
you're
so-
not giving him enough credit. I think this guy was like,
No, I think I'm giving way more credit. What are you talking about?
Yeah, 'cause
I think it's way more
why does-
diabolical than people are giving him credit for. I think he saw an opportunity to use this kid as a bartering chip to try and get out of this situation. Because if anybody else was held at gunpoint, what's he going to say? Let the man go. Let the woman go.
let the
Like,
middle-aged man go.
No, he was able to say, let the kid go, because that would. Conflict with their morality
Yeah.
of the situation. So that's how I kind of look at it.
Hannah, what say you?
What say you?
What say you, my good San, my good man, San, man San?
Menson.
So let's see if you get me goosebumps with your answer.
Goosebump count up to 17.
You know you get me when you get the goosebumps, man. And I'm always honest. If I have them, I tell you about it. Maybe that's a rude thing to say. I shouldn't be telling people I
Yeah,
get
maybe
goosebumps.
by TMI in certain situations.
I don't. It's not like I'm getting a hard on. I'm just getting. I'm getting goosebumps, dude.
Brandon, please say something.
Bleep that out in post. You'll fix it in post.
I will definitely do that. Note the time.
I think Frank makes a good point, like playing with the rebels' morality, saying let the kid go. But I was also saying before the show, like the show like makes everything gray. It's not black and white.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that they're the good guy.
Yeah.
Everyone in the Empire thinks that they're doing the right thing. Everyone in the Rebellion thinks they're doing the right thing. And we see each of them do bad things. We see Cassian like just kill people in cold blood like all the time.
Yeah.
Like I do not want to be alone with that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Or on his bad side at least.
Say the wrong thing and he's psh.
Yeah, like I currently owe Frank all this money for the headphones equipment.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, one of them's not working, but we'll talk about that later. But like, if it was Cassian Andor, I'm probably dead by now because he wants his microphone money.
But it is interesting. No, because Cassian is a man of honor.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. It's funny because I was just gonna like in my notes I was gonna say, how do you guys feel about the good guys doing something like taking a family hostage?
Because that's what I was gonna say is that our heroes in this story, like from a certain point of view, they're terrorists.
They are terrorists.
They're literally they're like Hans Gruber in
They
Nakatomi
are
Plaza.
bank robbers.
What
you know,
an
like-
interesting exercise would it be to re-edit it to somehow get the raw footage and have only good guy music play with the Imperials and evil
my
music
God.
play with the rebels, and just see, because framed, yeah, like you think you're that little kid or the wife. Now the wife's not super stoked about the Roberta, whatever. Roberta, yeah. It's always got to have a little bit of a Star Wars twist to it. Like, you could tell that she's just like, ugh. Like, he talks about, like, we've been trying to get off this planet. But the kid's like, he's looking at
we're
these.
in the Imperial ship.
You don't think that kid has PTSD? And by the way, if those parents got shot, we have a Batman in the Star Wars universe.
Way ahead. We'll get to there.
Spoiler alert. But I got some thoughts on that.
This is like I was saying, like this is kind of like Die Hard. Like imagine if that engineer was like an Imperial John McClane. Like he just happens to be there on the day that this heist goes down, and he stops it. Yeah. And you, like you said, you switch it up.
I want that.
Play some hero music. You'd think that he's the good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So meanwhile, J-Hold pretends that he isn't the one to give access, but we all know he's lying. That's why,
Oh yeah, Vel calls him
makes
out
the
right
call.
away.
Yeah.
Vel's like, no.
Yeah, and dude, how scary is it too whenever you hear anyone say, "Hey, we either succeed or we all die," which is such a freaking like end game type.
In this whole scene though, the way it kicks off is, remember Cinta? Well, not kicks off, but it kind of comes to kind of a conclusion, if you will. Cinta pops down and pops the engineer in the head, and like she's all about
She's a
that action.
badass.
When she popped in there, and Skeen wasn't lying. He's like in the last episode, he said about her that she might be the most strongest of us all.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, her family was massacred by stormtroopers, so she's got a lot of hate in her heart, a lot of revenge. She's filled with revenge, and so she had no problem knocking off this engineer. She had no qualms.
She's
whatsoever.
Definitely Christopher Nolan, Bruce Wayne, like out for vengeance before he goes to the League of Shadows and like learns the good. But you're true. It's like you could be a freedom fighter to the audience, which that's how the show's. But it's absolutely a terrorist to that kid, to the wife. They're like, they're just there. They don't even want to be there. They're at that backwater planet. So. Then you got Ted Lasso. Obviously, he's the one who manages to figure out that something's wrong. I think his name is Kinsey, Corporal Kinsey.
Yeah.
He has a Ted Lasso mustache. That's why I call him Ted Lasso. So you have Ted Lasso, and he manages to figure out which.
Be like, well, dang nabbit, looks like a terrorist insurrection going on here.
But by the way, I do want to say how cool it was to see Vel and Cinta just kind of like rappel down. I was like, damn, that's so cool.
That was a
not
really
CG.
cool shot.
That was so cool.
I thought that's a good trailer shot.
It's a very good trailer.
Is that a better than the rappel up with Padme and everybody in the Phantom Menace?
It's a little cheesy.
Yeah.
And they have like the
also,
dual face fight.
it wasn't timed perfectly. You could tell the guy on the left they had to speed him up. In the
Really?
shot. Yeah. You go back and watch. He's like, like in the first shot where they go up, you can see his legs, like from like I think like the knees down, like in frame, while everyone else is like out of frame. And then they cut to the next shot where they're coming up into the ledge, and you see it speed up.
Oh wow! Now I got to see that. Or you know what? You're the editor. You'll just put that on the screen so then we can all watch it while we're watching the show. Yay!
What did I say last
By the way,
week?
if you don't see it, that means that he was lazy because he didn't want to do it. So if you don't see it right now,
I'm lazy.
Yeah, such a lazy bastard.
So lazy.
Music, by the way, right here
Nobody
was
wants
so
to
good
work
at driving
anymore.
that scene. The music, just everything, especially at the height of all of this. So, but yeah, Ted Lasso figures it out. He says, "Hey, this is not working," and that's when like the music starts swelling. Something else that I noticed is that that's when shit starts to go sour, right? Because now he's going to start sending the troops in. But meanwhile, Cinta's looking over the hostages, which we'll get to that in a second. as the rebels are holding the guards hostage in order to remember, now they're get down to where the canisters are.
Yeah.
So now they're like, all right, and they have everybody like, all right, you're gonna load these things faster than you've ever loaded before or whatever. I thought for sure that they were Skeen was gonna shoot one of them dead, like at first. Like he's like, anyone not wanting to work fast. I thought, man, he's gonna nail someone, which would have been pretty badass actually. But anyway, so Andor and Nemik are gonna go start the freighter up while the rest of them start loading it. Meanwhile, then that's when Kimsey finds out, and so he's going to send a squad. He's going to send a squadron over there. Now, as things start to go bad for our heroes, and it seems like the Imperials are heading their way. What are you, as a viewer, thinking right now? Do you think this is where, like, are they even get the mission off? Are they going to get the ship off? Do you think, or you think it's just going to be a good old fashioned Star Wars gunfight?
To alleviate some of the tension, because I was very tense. I mean, like, it was insane. It was just a phenomenal.
I just had an image of you watching this, like at the edge of your bed, like
I'm
this.
literally
like,
just like I'm
freaking
literally
out
like
with the
at the edge of my
curl.
bed, like this, like, and so like to alleviate some of the tension, I was like, okay, look, everything's be fine. They're gonna get away with some of the money. People probably are gonna die, but that's okay. But Cassian's gonna live. I've just been telling myself this because like it was so tense, and I was so invested in what was happening, and honestly, just very worried for everyone on that crew. And also at the same time, I was kind of rooting that no one would die.
Yeah.
That like what they were trying to do was not kill anybody. You know, they walk into that room with the payroll, and they're like, no one has to die here. And I think Cassian even says like, no one has to die here. You know.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like rooting for that scenario, for them to, you know, have their cake and eat it too, if you will, of steal all this money but no one dies.
Well, speaking of, so things start to go bad, and what I noticed was a lot of similarities to, if you notice with Star Wars, especially the one that was really obvious for me was even Poe Dameron says it. He's like, as long as there's light, we have a shot, right? And when the light goes out in Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens, that's when the light leaves Kylo Ren's face, and then he stabs Han Solo, right? Spoiler alert.
What?
If you notice in this...
Have you ever seen it?
I'm watching Star Wars in chronological order right now.
Wow, you're screwed,
okay,
buddy.
right.
What happens in this, though, as the fires, they start to take the fire out.
What's a Han Solo?
The eye is about to take place, right? The eye of the thing. And so they start extinguishing the
event.
fires. And as they extinguish the fire, and as things get dark, right? That's when the Imperials with Kinsey start to come, and things get dark. And you'll notice when the meteor shower begins and everything lights up, that's when hope springs back. And now our heroes have a shot to get out of there.
Well,
so I
that
thought
was
that
also
was
part
pretty
of the
cool.
plan. But visually,
Yeah,
yes.
but I just thought that was interesting.
Visually,
Meanwhile, we have Gorn, who then reveals himself to J-Hold, and I thought that was great, where he was forcing J-Hold to like play the part still. But then, does J-Hold faint, or does he die of a heart attack?
Heart attack.
Definitely heart attack,
Heart
right?
attack.
Brandon, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean,
What happened to him?
He didn't have to do that much physical labor.
But isn't that ironic that this is a guy that lives up there with his calf all the time in the high spires, and then he's finally being tasked to do some hard work, and then he fucking
he's
dies.
the embodiment of Cassian's saying, you know, they're so rich and fat.
Yes.
Satisfied. And then he keels over after like 10 minutes of
What
manual labor.
He needs to go to the gym. Like I've been going to the gym, right,
Yeah,
dude?
What if there's like a post-credit scene where his like eyes open up and he's like, "Are they going?" He just faked it.
He faked it.
He's like, "Oh, the coast is clear." Yeah. So that happens, and then the fight goes. That's when the fight starts. And we'll soon get to how the fight breaks down. But in the meantime, they also send the word out to the Alkenzi Air Base, where they scramble their TIE fighters. Cue the Top Gun theme here.
Okay. That shot, when they cut away to the Alkenzi base, to me, that just upped the level of this episode. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, okay.
The shot of them getting in their
So
ties with that. Yeah. We're going to get a copyright strike. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
dead
so
on.
good.
It's so good.
So good.
Old school TIE fighter. I wanted to ask you guys this. How great was it that the sequence with the pilot getting in its ship, and you noticed that it was very nostalgia vibe from like episode 4, but I also wanted to ask you, do you think that those TIE pilots, since they're on such a backwater planet, do you think those TIE pilots were grizzled vets that are at the front lines, or do you think they were rookies and this was their first shot? And imagine their first shot, they're like, oh my God, this is it. And they have to do this chase amidst a meteor storm or whatnot. It's pretty. What do you guys think about the TIE fighter sequence? What were your thoughts going into it? Did it bring you back nostalgia vibes?
I think in terms of combat, they're probably pretty green, but they're probably experienced pilots.
Well, they're
I
wearing
mean,
black. They're not wearing green. Dad joke of the day brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola.
God damn it, Kevin.
I swear that's what it says that someone's going to tell me. So
So I just thought like maybe they're not combat savvy enough or experienced, but definitely I think probably experienced pilots and to kind of know a little bit of the planet since they seem to just do flybys all over the place. So I don't. But yeah, I didn't really think about it that too much, honestly.
But you were talking about this before the show too, that and we've talked about it before, just how great they've made TIE fighters in this series. So what did you think about how the interior cockpit looked? You know, you get the shades and the sound effects too, like it totally was straight out of like A New Hope to me.
Yeah, it was awesome, and we kind of got to see it. Like, reminded me of Force Awakens, like seeing like the TIE fighter like undocking and like flying out, like a perspective that like we haven't really seen in like the Imperial.
You've seen in Rebels. You've seen in Rebels.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, you haven't seen Rebels yet?
Live action, guys. Live action.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they just like make the TIE fighters like sound so menacing. Like the last couple episodes, those flybys, especially that one where like flew like super low.
Yeah.
It's like woo, it's like so freaking loud.
It was great.
And I'm just like, damn. It was like make one TIE fighter feel like 100.
Yeah.
I mean,
Negative
like,
Ghost Rider.
I would be the
pattern is
person in the
full.
Rebel Alliance, be like, that was so cool, and everybody else like, dude, that's our enemy, man.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I would be like,
they sound
I'd
way
be like,
cooler than the
"Whoa."
X-Wing. Yeah, what's cooler, like the TIE fighter
These
sound
things
or the
can
X-Wing
move.
sound? I would say though the TIE fighters engines sound cooler than the X-Wing, but the
Definitely.
X-Wing has it on the wah wah. I think that is there's
the
no
last-
beat in the wah 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 compared to the wah wah is the better, right? I sound like a duck probably. Quack quack.
You do.
Wah wah.
No, shut the duck up. Yeah.
I did want to before we put a pin on Mr. J-Hold, although you say that probably maybe he lives. Here's a guy who had every hope of advancing in the Empire, and it was riding on this one night, and it was riding on his wanting to get his family. He wanted to get his family out from this backwater and go to Coruscant, where he could go with all the elites and stuff. And it's got to be perfection, right? Perfection. And he puts his trust in a guy he's worked with for 7 years. That is literally about to take everything away. So what I want to ask is, what do you take away in the end for J-Hold? Where does he rank up there with the likes of Mahdi, Cassio Tag, Captain Nita, even Admiral Ozzel? Where would you rank this as an Imperial officer?
At the lowest.
Really?
Lowest, yeah, honestly. Yeah, because like
even though Ozzel went out of the system
because
too close
he
to
was so like flabbergasted that Gorn could just he could not believe it.
Yeah.
He couldn't comprehend what was happening. So for that, he's so naive about, is it possible other Imperial officers and soldiers could flip or get sick of the Empire? Like, bro, you're kind of sick of where you're at. What do you don't think?
Yeah.
So like for him to even be like, what?
There was such a great line there when he's like, "You'll hang for this," and he's like, I forget.
I literally just was going to load it up because I skipped it. So he says, I've been doing what I've been doing, following you for 7 years. I deserve a punishment that's much worse than that.
Yeah.
About being hung.
Yeah, it was like, he was like, I deserve much worse than that for like
damn.
serving you for 7 years.
Yeah.
That whole line just tells you
so good.
all about what Gorn's experience has been like since he lost that loved one. And
Speaking of Gorn, where does he rank with Imperial to Rebel sympathizers such as others?
Callus.
Yeah, like a Agent Callus. So he
he's
has a
no
blink
Callus.
he has a blink and you'll miss it death. By the way, if you rewatch it, like it's like I had to rewind it. I'm like, oh, there you got shot right there, obviously. But if you're not paying attention, man, it goes by quick. But that's how war is. I also like the realistic to that. So how does Gorn stack up for you guys as a character, seen as we're saying our goodbyes to him? And I'm going to do that for all the guys that had passed away.
Gorn, he was an interesting kind of character because we don't really get a whole lot of Imperial defector type of characters, at least at the forefront, or even really helping the rebellion or the start of a rebellion, because I don't know that he was in it for the rebellion so much as he was in it for the revenge of losing the promotion, losing the woman that he loved or whatever, or whoever he loved. So I think he was a cool character, but nothing that I'd be like, I wouldn't change my Twitter handle to like Gorn Fanboy 77 or whatever.
What? That's because it's already taken. Because I got it. I'm Gorn Fanboy 77. What do you think, Brandon?
of that username. It's terrible.
Yeah, okay.
Why not 66?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I said 77.
421.
Let's talk about Terramin,
1138.
though. I'm going to blow your mind right now. Terramin, a former stormtrooper.
2187.
Yeah.
A former stormtrooper, and he lives up to his name because he fires a bunch of shots and doesn't hit anybody.
Damn. Really?
Yeah, watch it. I rewound it again.
Oh man, that
you see
sucks.
Skeen hitting people.
Anybody?
He's a stormtrooper. They don't hit anything.
Are you serious? I
Rewatch
have to go
it.
back and watch that. Oh no.
Rewatch it.
I was kind of liking him. Like,
yeah. Well, you could still like him. He's just a horrible shot.
Yeah. Well, I can't now if he can't shoot.
Well, I like seeing these Imperial defectors and spies like helping out the rebellion.
Yeah.
Something like we didn't really get to see in like the George Lucas era of Star Wars, where we're seeing it like a lot more in this Disney era.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like a really interesting like angle, like seeing like rebel spies, like Cassian's also a rebel spy, but like seeing people in the Empire defect, and it's like such an interesting
like Hux,
dynamic.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm the spy.
I'm the spy.
I also noticed that Skeen, when he's asked to do the cover fire for our boy Tamarin, watch it again. He doesn't want to do it at first, and then he does one shot of cover fire, but then he backs away because he doesn't want. He's not risking his life for it, and that's what gets Tamarin killed.
That's not necessarily true. When you lay down cover fire, you kind of are putting yourself at risk of getting shot.
But he didn't. He was supposed to be out there providing cover fire until Terramin get to his location, and he didn't.
Well, the way you lay down cover fire is you shoot, to like so they duck, so then your guy can run. You're not shooting while they're running.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's both. Yeah, Saving Private Ryan. They're like, go, and then they're firing.
Yeah,
while
watch
the
it
guy's
again.
running.
Watch it again.
Watch Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
I trust
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, watch when they're on the beach, right? And they're
yeah,
going around the corner.
And right. You wait
he
for
goes,
Giovanni Verbisi to run by.
And remember, they see that.
This is our Saving Private Ryan podcast.
Lay down covering fire, and Captain Miller did they get out there,
Fire?
and then they shoot, and then he sends them.
Oh yeah. Guys, that was just a pilot.
Like, get him in the war.
That was just a pilot taste of our Saving Private Ryan podcast.
If I had to do cover fire for you, though, I'm shooting the whole time you're
That's
running.
cool with me.
So
That's
you
cool
know.
with
Dude, me too. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit more of a bro, dude.
That's right.
Yeah,
Waste
bro.
your bullets.
Band of Brothers. Watch
For
it
you?
sometime.
For you, bro?
All right, so we got Vel, Skeen, Nemik. They all run into the freighter. Andor lights it up. The one thing that I noticed about this episode, which I would say was my only thing where I was like, that's weird. Remember they kind of made a big deal about the ship being on the
track?
On the track, and there's like, you didn't know that. What were you gonna do without me and stuff? They don't have any. You don't really see anything about that.
Yeah.
They kind of just gloss over that. I wonder if that would have been a deleted scene. That was a bigger issue because.
Or I wonder if it was in the configuration of the console.
I mean, like he piloted it. He knew what he was doing.
It just didn't seem like it seemed like there was no issue there that you probably didn't even need that setup in the previous because there wasn't anybody being like, wait, trying to do this or.
But I think it like was kind of showing like more and more that like they could trust him.
Yeah.
Because then we had that, and then we had the moment where he's like, "Oh, he's left-handed, so he should stand over here," and it was like kind of building on that like trust. It's like, oh, this Clem guy really knows what he's doing.
And it like even goes to the conversation with Nemik. He's like, here's what the Empire's like. You're half right, but here's the other part. So yeah, I think it was just building up that Andor is knowledgeable. He's seen a lot of things, and that's why he can be valuable to this little
like,
cell. Yeah,
he's like, I'm here for the money, but I know more than you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm a professional, so I'm gonna get it done.
I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna get paid so I can get out of here. Yeah.
So the ship takes off. Then we have our boy Nemik. He's not dead yet, but he does get crushed.
Oh.
Which is an interesting way. You'd think that he would die by
we
like
got
a
Skeen, Vel, Nemik, and Cassian make it onto the ship.
Yes. And the Imperial money crushes Nemik. And before we get into the rest in peace segment of our show about Nemik, I do think it is interesting that Nemik literally gets crushed by Imperial money.
Yeah.
Which is literally what he thinks is the driving force behind the Imperial machine. Right, and now he's getting crushed by that very thing. So it's you can't really die by money, except you can die by money when money buys weapons and stuff like that. But I'm saying he literally died by the money that is normally going in feeding the pockets of the Imperial. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What did you guys think of Nemik? Do you think he got and I know we're jumping ahead because he dies later, but we'll just talk about it now. Did he get the honorable death that he deserved?
He got a death that I think it's a very realistic type of death because when you look at like a hero's death, they go out in such a glorious fashion or a big firefight or you sacrifice yourself, And all these deaths, was it with Gorn, whoever else, very kind of just another run-of-the-mill casualty of war.
Yeah.
So it was very real in that sense. Also, it was kind of like once they made it onto the ship, I was like, oh, these are the ones that are going to make it.
Yeah.
These are the ones that are going to make it. We're home free. You don't think about one of them dying on that ship.
Yeah.
Because, you're like, okay, well, the ship is going to get out of there. They're going to be all right now. But you don't think about someone dying on that ship like that. So it definitely took me by surprise. Like, if I was recording my reaction, yeah, you would have seen just complete shock on my face. So I was very surprised by it. But also, I was like, oh, they're not killing him. He's just paralyzed from the waist down.
They're going to give me the next Professor X.
Yeah, I thought he was just going to be like this wise person for the rebellion, or has all these ideas and manifestos, or whatever. But he just will never see combat again, and he'll kind of be like this, figure within the rebellion. But then he dies.
And he dies
on the table.
You want to know something else? I'll jump to you real quick. What did you think about his death? Was it befitting of a character such as Nemik?
I mean, I think he dies as a hero.
Yeah.
Even as he's dying, he's helping them navigate their way out of the meteor shower and off the planet, and they wouldn't have been able to do that without him. He's like, I literally cannot feel my legs and I'm dying, but I'm like telling you these coordinates.
How epic is
and
that?
how to move the ship.
Do you know his last command? He says climb. Do you know who else's last?
K2SO. I've seen it all over Twitter. I've seen it all over the internet, man.
I was so excited to tell you guys that, and now I'm sorry, Twitter.
I know, honestly, you kind of
maybe stay off Twitter on the day that we record our show so you can see your genuine reaction.
People were framing it as these are their last words. It wasn't their last words. It was just like they both said this thing at important times. Is Nemik K2SO reborn? And that's what his call sign is? Yeah. He's in the little nav computer that he has. Yeah.
But
it all makes sense.
But I also wanted to say that his death is very tragic because I wish he could have been there for the defeat of the Empire,
dude, I was
and the formation of the New Republic.
Oh, you're gonna make god!
Because when he was
goosebumps.
He was talking to Cassian about everything that he believes in, and he's literally describing what the New Republic becomes and what his vision for the galaxy could be.
And then he would retire on Hosnian Prime and live happily ever. Wait a second.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Actually, that if only Nemik could have seen the destruction of the second Death Star, if Cassian
or the
could
first
have
one
seen,
too.
Well, I mean, if he sees the second one, he would have saw the first one.
Yeah, but why can't he see both?
It's implied.
Well, maybe one he doesn't see because he's on a ski trip on Hoth.
I want to see him there, the first ever official,
cry, bro.
The first ever official meeting of the Republic Senate, and he's there to watch them delegate.
He gets to do the first inaugural bell ringing of the Coruscant
and
Stock
watch this Republic of free planets.
Hey, we need to do Return of the Jedi special edition.
And I keep also thinking about every time an episode ends. And this is probably jumping way ahead, but it has nothing to do with the episode. It has nothing to do with the episode, but just at the end of every episode, I just think this character Cassian, and then this is the same guy that ends up sacrificing himself on Scarif to go onto Scarif, get the plans, and I mean, there's not really that much of a difference between going to Scarif and what he did with this one, because both pretty suicidal missions, right? Yeah. So it was just incredible stuff, just the kind of juxtapose themselves and yeah, again with Nemik, I was just if only this guy could have seen what he did that day, what it meant for the rest of the galaxy in 20 years' time or whatever.
Because maybe we haven't seen it yet. Maybe he inspires Cassian,
we'll see
to
what that
officially join the rebellion.
Honestly, if it is,
and then Cassian's the reason they get the Death Star plans, and
it's
then that's
Nemik is the reason why.
It all is. It's Nemik and Tim.
Nemik
and Tim.
You gotta stay energized.
How about that Pulp Fiction scene with the med spike?
You guys wanted to say the Pulp.
That reminded me of Logan too, where he's like, "All right, I'm gonna shoot everything in here."
Yeah.
I thought that was good. I could really use that for my traps right now.
There's plenty of episodes of ER did that too, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mr. TV guy. I don't no.
You know,
ER.
I don't know if they ever did that in Rebels. Did they ever do it in Rebels? I don't.
Did they
Oh
do it in
yeah,
Rebels?
every other episode.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You would love Rebels, and we'll get to that in a second.
yeah.
So now we get a dazzling
I
chase
rebel.
sequence. Andor flies the freighter through this exploding crystals while the TIE fighters. A funny side note, this was on in the background when we were setting up the mics. Well, he was setting up the mics, and me and Brandon were just sitting there bothering him.
Watching me.
Yeah, well, I brought the helmet out to hide my belly.
I'd do it again too.
Your roommates came out, and I think one of them hadn't seen the episode yet, or even the show. It didn't say. It's to
I've
me,
been
it felt
trying
like
to,
he
like-
wasn't a Star Wars fan or whatever. He looks at the screen, and it's the shot of escaping through the eye, and he's like mesmerized by the screen. And I just thought that was a cool way to see it from an outside perspective of like, wow, we're getting something really special here, especially with some of these shots. So, what did you guys think? What are your thoughts on the chase scene against the backdrop of the Eye of Aldani?
It's awesome, man. I don't know if there's any other way to describe
I mean,
it.
yeah, I think the design of it was really cool. The way they kind of built up to it, like just one or two are starting off, and then it becomes a full-on like meteor shower, kind of like an aurora borealis type of deal. And
Easy with the SAT words, but
I took the ACTs, guy.
I took the NCAA.
I
You
took,
took the NC-17s.
I took the.
I did. Oh, I did. Man, when I saw that Victoria's Secret catalog, NC-17 all the way.
Oh boy. No, I think it was just really mesmerizing. It was just beautiful colors and the whole sequence, the music, the tension, the TIE fighter. I mean, like that whole. It was so cinematic. It was an incredible sequence, and we're only halfway through the season
God,
of
isn't that
season
crazy?
1 of 2, right? 6 of 24.
I got to hang out with you
episodes.
guys for another 6 weeks.
No, you don't have to. Sean's not here. Brandon wasn't
that's
here
true.
last week, so you
Yeah,
don't.
I'm
have
calling in sick.
To. You call it, yeah. Unfortunately, I will still be here.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. When you call in sick, what do we do?
That's
I
it.
don't know. I don't.
No, you
all
can,
this.
I'll
just
be like,
connect
here's the stuff. I'll
Yeah,
be in my room.
yeah, that'll be fun.
Brandon,
Yeah,
you
Yes.
said it was awesome. You
I
said
just
it was
responded to you
awesome,
like I was
and
like, yeah.
and that's all you got.
you gotta have more.
That's all. That's all you got.
I mean, you
It
didn't
was
watch Rebels,
awesome.
so maybe
It
it
was
was.
Yeah.
spectacular.
Damn, great word. Great
spectacular.
word usage.
Well, let me tell you something. Oh, we could skip that little note. Climb. Nobody cares about my K2SO reference. All right,
You might
screw
even
you.
say it was bomb bad.
There you go. There you go.
Cinta. She
Oh.
she emerges. Rewatching it again just now, she's not quite crying. She's a little distraught. You made up a good point. She's probably just upset she never knows if she's going to see her love again. However, the thought did come to my
She has a
mind:
love?
is she walking away because she murdered that family? And are we surprised? Do you think? What do you think? Did Cinta murder that family?
So my initial thought was, she's, walking out of there thinking, will I ever see Vel again? I don't know. Did Vel make it out alive? She doesn't know necessarily if she's alive or not.
Wait, are her and Vel a couple?
Bro,
Yeah.
they're sharing a blanket.
Dude, I'll be honest. I've been watching this in my car on my phone.
That's not safe, by the way. Can we talk about that?
Do you have subtitles on?
Wait, you're watching in traffic on a small phone this episode
Yeah,
with like the glare of sun?
I'm a busy guy.
Oh my god.
No wonder you haven't seen
Okay,
Rebels.
well this doesn't have.
Don't
anything-
try that at home.
That was
kid.
like episode 4.
Yeah, that was when you're on the 405, right? Right past
Yeah.
Slauson.
Episode 405.
Yeah, Beach Boulevard,
No, Skeen says
Huntington Way.
to Cassian, if you're thinking about whatever, she's already sharing a blanket, and they show Vel, and then later on, I think it was the same episode or the next episode, where Cinta's kind of helping Cassian, with his bandage or whatever, and then Vel comes over and asks Cassian for something, and she's like, and you can dress yourself, and like.
Yeah.
He didn't like that. She didn't like that Cassian was kind of flirting a little bit with Cinta. So yeah.
Wow, right over your head. Or you missed the part where they like put their hands on each other. You're like,
Oh yeah. That
you missed that part too. Well, good. That means you're paying attention to the road. And you're not killing a family. Speaking of family, Cinta didn't kill a family, but Brandon might have killed a family in a car accident because he's watching.
It's either I get these really important details or I drive into another car. So
I feel like you're making the right choice.
I don't know.
So, escaping the TIE fighters, they find themselves staring at 2 options. Now, they finally escape, by the way. So, we've talked about that. It's bombad, spectacular, and brilliant. Is that what you said? The 3 words?
awesome.
Awesome, yes.
Awesome.
Wait, I got one.
Uh-oh, what?
It was so wizard.
Damn.
Oh.
Damn it.
So now they're faced with a situation where Nemik is dying, basically, and they're like, hey, we got to get this money to its final location, or do we stop? They have a contingency plan with a doctor, Quadpaw. Love the name Quadpaw. Thanks to subtitles for getting that, by the way. Because it just has his name on there in the subtitles.
I kind of call him the Quadpather.
Copyright.
And then they'll make a show called The Offer about the making of the Quadfather.
The coiffer.
I recommend The Offer. It's very good.
It's really great.
But here's the thing. So they're going to do that. Now, Skeen is very... at first you think, no, this is the reason why we're all here. And you see it in revert, and we'll get to that later. But if you go back and look at it, the reason he's doing it is because his plan to steal the money would be easier if they stop at a doctor's office. You know, you stop at the doctor's office off the highway, it's easier to take the money out of the back of the truck than, let's say, deliver the truck to the main people that are waiting for the money. So I think that's Skeen's motivations. But Andor makes it a decision for the whole team. He says, fuck it. You know why? It's because, I forgot to mention this, Nemik saves Andor's life when he's in that life or death struggle on the thing. So my question to you is, do you feel that this was the first big step in his character arc for Andor as a rebellion hero, or do you think this is just him repaying in kind to Nemik, or did Nemik finally reach the guy?
I think it was just Andor like standing by his own like moral code. Like he's like, hey, I did a job. I'm gonna get paid what we agreed upon, and like that's gonna be it. I'm not gonna like steal from them. I'm not gonna tolerate somebody else stealing from them.
Yeah.
Like there's a level of professionalism to this.
Right.
And I'm going to honor that. But also, obviously, there's also a side of him that believes in the cause.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, screw this guy. He's going to hurt the cause.
Yeah.
So even though, even if maybe Cassian doesn't realize he feels that way yet.
Yeah.
Like that's in the back of his head, it's probably like a motivating factor.
That's what I would say as well, is that he doesn't really realize he's making a choice that is for basically Vel and what do you think still is Nemik, right? That he's thinking about them in a way subconsciously, even though it's kind of hidden by the fact that he's in it for the money. I do want to say this one thing about Skeen though, and I thought about this and I was like, once he reveals Skeen basically like, yo, let's split. You take 40, I take 40. We're out of here.
Yeah.
It actually makes a whole lot of sense to me now as to why Skeen was so apprehensive and skittish and inquisitive about who is this Cassian dude. Because I've been out here for months. I've gotten to know all of these people. I know kind of what their weaknesses are, what they're all about.
Interesting.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to burn all of them, take this money.
Yeah.
But now this new guy comes into play.
Who also says he's in it for the money.
Right, exactly. And so now Skeen's like, I got to figure out this dude. I got to figure out.
Interesting.
He's a new wrench in my plan of trying to get away with all this money at the end of the day. So like to me, that kind of clicked. I don't know if that's actually. That's how I kind of.
Would you screw me over for 80 million?
80 million what?
80 million credits. Credits
in
will
this
be
economy?
fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I assume. I would screw you over for 8 credits.
Wow.
So
okay.
yeah. Did you halfway
I believe
think
in the cause, guy?
remembering Tivik? Did you halfway think when they're like, "Oh, Nemik is dying. We need to do something," that Cassian was going to turn around and just blast Nemik and be like that's how cold-blooded he is. He's like,
no.
The end. I mean, could you imagine though? Because that's kind of on point.
That's what he did.
He kills Tivik, right? It would be on brand if he turned around and shot Nemik and been like, the money is the main king, the rebellion's the main thing. Because I don't know, maybe even Nemik would think like, maybe Nemik would be like, dude, don't. If he could talk, he'd be like, don't slow me down, like just drop me off or just shoot me in a space pod, like, dude, the money is what's the important thing. We got to go build Yavin 4 or whatever they're gonna do with it, right?
That just doesn't track for me at all.
I don't know. I just thought when he first turned around, I'm like, I mean, I didn't want him to do it, by the way. Didn't want him to do it, and he didn't, thankfully. But yeah, okay. So Skeen tells Andor there's 80 million. Like you said, they're willing to split it, and that's when Andor asks about his brother, and I think that's because he was trying to see if was this a test the whole time. And I think I saw someone online like, oh, maybe it was a test the whole time. But if it was a test, when he told Val would have been like, oh, he was just testing you. But Val was like, oh, he would never say that or whatever. So he wasn't testing.
Could you imagine? He was just testing you.
It was
Why
just
would you shoot him?
You shot him. He was testing you.
But see, that also made me think of like
We do that to all the new recruits.
But the recruits don't shoot us. Cinta didn't even shoot him.
So like the question is, does Skeen's brother actually exist or not?
No, he lied.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't think
He
so.
said that it was all bullshit, basically.
Weird lie to make up.
And,
It is,
but by the way,
I think you're right too, because he doubles down basically by saying Vel wants me to tell you about my brother, but Vel doesn't necessarily hear him say any of this to Cassian, right? Like, the way they shoot it and frame it, like he walks away from Vel towards Cassian in the previous episode, and he's like, "Yeah, she wants me to tell you about my brother." Doesn't necessarily mean that because Vel never says anything to Skeen about, "Hey, tell him about your brother." Like.
I wonder,
just walks
rewatching
over
that
there.
scene, how that's going to play now.
He just
when
walks
you know
over
it's
and goes,
bullshit.
"She wants me to tell you about my brother," and it's like, wait, why?
Well, the second
And
that
he does it, and he does it to soften Cassian, basically.
yeah, he's just manipulating.
yeah.
It's curious too, but
I'm sorry again, which all the further underlines no one's really truthful to begin with at all in this any character in this show.
So I have a hypothetical for you. So the not saying that the brother was fake is what gets him to shoot him. If Rogue One didn't exist, so we know the Ungame right now and how this is a story about Cassian going to the rebellion. But if in a bubble, if this was just a show about the rebellion in the early days, do you feel now knowing what Andor's intentions were going to be? Do you think that if he shot Skeen, and we were watching this in chronological order, like you said you're doing, you're not. What episode are you on? Do you think that you believe that Andor, when he would come into Val, that he would be like taking everything, or do you think that he was going to have honorable intentions? I'm saying if you didn't know what this show was about in the endgame.
I mean, I would think that he was going to take everything until he says that he just wants what he was
cool,
agreed upon.
yeah.
He hands the Kyber crystal back. He says, "I'm taking only what we agreed upon."
What a good guy.
And I'm out of here.
Once he does that, to me that means he likes to keep things on the up and
He's
up.
like,
He's not a dishonorable man.
Right.
He's keeping his end of the bargain.
He's like, "I need a ship. I will buy it off of you."
Right.
Like, I'm not going to steal it.
I want what's owed to me. I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with any of this nonsense.
yeah.
you
And
know?
so he proves his worth to Vel, or his word to Vel and the Quadfather. And that's bad. I love the Godfather.
but I have no idea what you were doing there. So that was really
I'm
bad.
sorry.
that was pretty
Sorry, I
bad.
had to tell you. Sorry, I didn't get the shoe polish and paint my head, and then put a piece of toilet paper in my mouth to do it for you.
I think it was cotton swabs actually.
I'll make him offer a come with you. No one could ever say no to me on the day of my
It
gun.
seems like you have a fat tongue. You're not even like.
I think I got a numb tongue. I'm like Jar Jar. Okay.
My
tongue is
numb.
in the hay flavor.
My
So-
tongue is numb.
Vel does give the manifesto to Cassian, which begs the question, which I asked on Twitter, begs the question, is the famous quote, like the Half-Blood Prince, when the book, the potions book, you have the Sectum Sempra written on the back of on the side in the little margins with a pencil, will the manifesto, which has been given now to Cassian, when he has a little light reading, is that gonna turn him back towards Luthen? That's another question. But my question is, will inscrawled, maybe in the back or on the inside with a little note that'll say, "Dear Cassian, for you," and it says rebellions are built on hope. Is that gonna be scribbled in the
Rebellions are
manifesto?
built
What
on
say
hope.
you?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I don't know.
That's your Obi-Wan from episode 2.
yes.
Thank you.
Bingo. Winner.
So
That's all?
I mean, I have more, but Frank started to talk.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I wasn't sure you were done.
No, my first thought
You're
was
just making
I
sounds.
feel
was
like
all
you
right.
were at a crossroads. You're like, I either can make a joke or add to the conversation, and you're like, I'm gonna make a joke.
there's more where that came from.
yeah, of course.
But I found myself immediately wondering, I'm like, is like this manifesto what's gonna like actually turn him to the rebellion? Because I thought after he killed, what's his name? Skeen. After he killed Skeen, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, he's in, you know? And then he kind of reveals, he's like, hey, I just want what we agreed upon. And I'm out, which is fine.
Yeah.
Respectable. But I found myself wondering if this manifesto is what was going to really turn him towards the rebellion. It's
gotta be, right?
And I just started thinking, I'm like, I could just picture him like in his bed at night, all cozied up. He's got like his reading glasses on. He's got like a cup of tea, and he's like
Cup of calf.
he's like looking through it. Yeah, cup of calf. He's like looking through it, like licking his fingers, going to page, going, you know, this is pretty good. You know what? Yeah, I gotta call Vel.
I should call her back.
I gotta add her. I gotta add her on Facebook.
I gotta add her on my
Facebook.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Is Facebook called Spacebook out there? Facebook.
Oh my god.
No, it's
Add
not.
me on
It's not.
Facebook.
It's not.
No,
I
I think really
it's called a
Spacebook,
holobook.
dude. Spacebook. We should buy that.
What about MySpace?
Wow. You just put right.
Instead of Tom from MySpace, it's Tim from MySpace.
Oh no, it's Tom with two M's.
No,
it's Tom with two M's. What I would say about the manifesto is I think Cassian isn't going to read it until episode 11, one before the finale, right? I think that's when he'll read it.
Oh, so he'll keep it'll be a thing where he keeps throwing it in his bag and not getting
so whatever.
to it.
He'll see it, whatever, and blah blah blah. I don't think we're going to see it for a little while.
Ooh.
What I'm most curious about though is what did Nemik write about Cassian? Because remember in that conversation at the beginning of the episode, he's like, when I can't write or when I can't sleep, I just write, and I wrote about you last night.
Oh.
And then he gets into kind of the mercenary thing. But I'm curious what Nemik writes about Andor.
Oh,
That's
he
what
was
I
so
really
dreamy.
wanna
Oh, Andor is so dreamy. Those eyes. How do I get courage to ask him out? You think it's like that?
He hasn't showered in 3 days, but he still smells like roses.
Yeah, what did Nemik write about Andor?
Interesting. Sound off in the comments below. Let's ignite a firestorm of conversation.
To light the fire.
Dare I
The
say it?
spark that'll
Again.
burn the
Well,
Comments down.
comments
Burn
down.
the comments down.
Looks like I'll be able to skip that part of my notes, just like the KTUSO part.
You just had the
No, I had an idea about I believe that this attack represents. And are you done with the manifesto talk?
Yeah.
Okay. As we're jumping ahead here, just gonna wrap it up here. We go back to Coruscant and we see the emergency meeting with Partagaz, played by Anton Lesser, the great Anton Lesser, who calls an emergency meeting. Tells everyone they're not going home for the night. They gotta start their forgive me.
Call your
butcher it.
sons, call your daughters.
The Star Sector
call your
and
aunts,
planet.
call your uncles. You ain't going anywhere.
Star Sector Planetary Retaliation Plan. They could have probably said that a lot easier. Maybe why couldn't they do
What do they call it again?
SSPR? SSPR? No.
He said, hide your kids, hide your wife. They're rebelling against everybody out here.
Yeah. So obviously the news is so galaxy shattering that it forces even Mon Mothma when she's doing a speech. And can we just say how cool it is to see the Senate again? There's no ETs. To be honest, I was looking for ETs. You were too? Good. I wasn't the only one.
Who do I see? Who do I see?
I was like, come on. But you couldn't see anyone because that's the state of the Senate.
like,
That's why
no one was there.
Are
No
we
one
gonna
was
see
there.
Palpatine in the center, like dozing off, like?
I really wanted them to show the center, like where like whoever would sit, like who's running the Senate. I really wanted them to show like that console, but they never did.
Make the galaxy great again shirt, like and hat, like right on there. But like, you see that it's empty, and that's the state of the Senate, and that's why there was not real any uproar when the Imperial Senate was dissolved later by A New Hope, because there's no everybody when the Senate realized that they were powerless anyway. They're like, why am I gonna fly all the way out here from Malastare, dude? I'm gonna stay home at Malastare.
I've seen
I'll
pod
watch it on
racing on Malastare. Very fast, very dangerous.
They'll just watch Mon Mothma's speech on CNN. But the
MySpace, you mean? They'll watch it on MySpace.
I mean, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. The Senate does have power. That's why they needed the Death Star.
True.
Before they could disband.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, but it just seems like no one was interested. Now I know that some of the seats started getting to leave because
it was it's a lame duck session, probably.
Yeah. Well, as news of this attacks reaches everyone in the core worlds, dare I say it, and this is why I was making a joke, because you guys made the joke. Is this the spark that lights the fire of rebellion when other people start realizing, oh my God, there's a rebel faction that actually did a blow? Because I believe that there have been a lot of little skirmishes, but nothing quite to where it literally got the attention of everybody, including the SSPR, the Star Sector and Planetary Retaliation Plan. So what do you guys think of that? Do you believe that is the first spark? Did it feel to you that they were making a big deal about, oh, everybody's checking their news? Oh, did you see the news today to Luthen? Is this because it was the first real big attack on the Empire?
Yeah.
Probably ever since since episode 3, which, you could if I start thinking about it, I'll get goosebumps, so I'll stop.
Yeah.
First, I want to say 80 million ain't a lot. Like, it's not that much. 80 million.
Yeah, they can make a Harry
like
Potter
LeBron
movie.
James' contract is for like $80 million.
So what are they going to build with?
What's the imperial credit to U.S. dollar?
Yeah, maybe
conversion?
LeBron James only makes like 11
currency converter.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Well, it's for the entire. It's pay for the entire quarter.
But they did not take the entire payroll. Remember, so
a couple of canisters fell.
Well, no, a lot. They left a lot behind. Anyways,
It's kind of like when we do the Star Wars ride, where we don't get all the coaxium on the ride.
Right.
We should, but we don't.
But we don't. Yeah, I think it's interesting that this is like the very first kind of big deal, first big successful type of attack against the Empire,
Punctuated with Luthen's victory
just
back there. Like, you really realize the weight of this is the first real, like, when you want to fight them for real, right?
Yes.
We haven't heard you say that this episode yet.
You want to fight these bastards for real?
There it is.
No, talking about Goosebumps, baby.
Yeah.
Goosebumps. So like I think it's interesting that everyone in the Senate started paying attention. That guy in Luthen's shop was like, "Hey, you're Aldani. They fucking ripped off 80 million."
He was like, I was joking.
He's like, come back. Yeah.
But Luthen was like, "This is the perfect opportunity to go in the back and cheer my ass off."
To go back real quick to Mon Mothma.
Dude, I was so thinking about that.
We should do a fan edit like you did your Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan edit with Anakin becomes a problem. I don't want to be a problem, sir.
I might do that. Maybe.
Don't you forget, that would be funny. Going back to Mon Mothma real quick, and this doesn't apply to you because you suck and you haven't seen the Rebels. Mon Mothma is talking about the Gorman, which is just so cool because if you know about the Rebels, her story, the reason we get to know her and she meets the crew of the Ghost is because she needs the extraction. Because basically, she finally speaks out. There's going to be the Gorman Massacre, which actually started out as a legend story or a backstory, and then they adapted a little of it for the Rebels. But she is so outraged by the Gorman Massacre that she makes a speech. Basically, it would be like if someone on the highest up of ups denounces a dictator, right? And so she basically says at the Galactic Senate, like, and this is part of the Rebels, she denounces him and says that Palpatine, this is bad, the Gorman Massacre. And she says basically, I've tried my part in the Senate. I thought I could make a difference. And this is the beginning of seeing that. She says in Rebels, she always thought she could make a difference in the Senate and behind the scenes, but she realizes she can't because no one's listening to her even talk about the Gorman situation. So that's what actually makes her leave. And in Rebels, that's almost a sequel to this very episode because the episode's called Secret Cargo, and it's in the 3rd season. And it's a great episode of Rebels, and Mon Mothma is voiced by Genevieve O'Reilly. So she does a great job in that show, but it's basically the crew of the Ghost extracting her and getting out of there, and then that's when she finally dons the white robes.
Pretty
basically.
sweet.
Yeah, so you'd really like it if you actually watched the show. Maybe you'll get on a long road trip to Colorado or something.
Maybe if you were a real Star Wars fan.
If you're a real Star Wars fan.
Jeez.
Well, we can't all be real Star Wars fans. So I've only been busting my ass for like 2-3 years now.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Clearly Luthen is happy now. Are we trusting that Luthen is happy? I'm always just because you gave me the hosting duties today, I got to be a little voice of reason or the devil's advocate. Is Luthen happy? Two questions. Is Luthen happy for admirable reasons, or is the 80 million going to find its way? I know you say 80 million is not that much in Galactic. We don't know what it could really buy, let's be honest. Is the 80 million going to find its way, and that's how the Hoth base is built, and that's how all the X-Wings and A-Wings and snow speeders are purchased? Or is the 80 million never going to reach it because Luthen has other plans for the 80 million and we don't know? Because we know with Tony Gilroy and any sort of these kind of stories, there's always double agents and secret agents and triple agents. Do we trust Luthen? Two questions. Do we trust Luthen? And is the 80 million going to make it to its final destination? Go, Brandon.
I trust Luthen. I just kind of put this piece together. Like I'm thinking about it now. He had that conversation with Mon Mothma about her being unable to move money.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he has this plan, is because he needs money. He can't get it from Mon Mothma anymore. So they try this attack on the Imperial base where
That
they're
makes sense.
keeping everybody's salary.
It might be an easy mark for him. You never know.
Easy mark.
Mark, yeah. You might, I mean, like I'm saying, you are the trusting type, right? And that's what we as the audience want to trust him. What do you think, Frank? Do you think that he's trustworthy all the way, or do you think we're in for something a little more twists and turns with the Luthen arc?
Well, any guy that wears a disguise, I always have question marks about whether whether it's for good reasons or not. You always got to be like,
What are you talking about?
Two things.
When did you get here?
Never trust a
Brandon. That's not Brandon.
never trust a guy in a disguise, and never play Pazak or not Pazak.
Sabak.
Well, Pazak is from KOTOR. Sorry, I'm so
Good
ingrained.
Lord.
It's the early. Never play Sabak with a guy named after a city. You don't want to go to play against North Dakota Johnson.
Or Reno.
Poker. Yeah, or Reno.
Reno Johnson.
Yeah, everybody's last name. You just don't want to play
Corellia
poker against
Carl.
Vegas Jack.
Corellia Carl.
I have Corellia Carl. Let's play some Sabak or Pazak. Pazak, by the way, is a really cool mini game.
Or
in the KOTOR game.
Nikki Naboo.
Did you ever play Pazak on the KOTOR game?
No.
We'll talk about that
Yeah,
later.
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Do I trust Luthen? I mean, sorta. But I also want to know, why is he doing this? I tweeted this out actually earlier today.
Yeah, that's what your tweet made me actually add that
and
note.
I was like, why? We know why the rebels, that little rebel cell, why they're getting into it. Gorn and Cinta and the rest, and we know how Cassian got involved with it, and why he got involved with it, because he's getting paid. But why is Luthen taking this upon himself to kind of orchestrate this kind of attack in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, why is he teamed up with Mon Mothma? You know, how did their relationship come to be? So I'm kind of curious about his motivations. Like, he has this shop, right? Was he something more before this shop, and like it was taken from him, so now he's kind of like out of spite against the Empire, he's trying to hit him, you know, in their pocketbook, basically. I don't know. So
you're a little more. So Brandon Hanna,
my distance, but
Brandon Hanna is fully trusting. You're keeping him at arm's length.
flying casual.
I'm saying he's a bastard and he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and we're going to find out. Actually, I don't. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters.
he's great,
but,
though. I love him.
I'm really excited. I hope he maintains the light, the straight and narrow, or whatever you want to call it in these terms. But you never know. So, guys, let's just your final thoughts on the show. What did you think of the episode? Well, we don't talk about the episode. What do you think as a whole, as it fits into the first 3 episodes, and now these next 3 episodes? And what can you? We don't know what we can expect for the future, but what you hope to see in the next episode? Starting with you, Frank.
Yeah, I kind of hope we get more into Cassian having kind of the struggle of leaving Vel behind and thinking about, you know, what else could I do with Luthen, and you know, I kind of would like to see him struggling with, I'm on my own, but like I also think like he probably wants to go back to Ferrix at some point, you know, and so will he go back there? Because I'll be honest, guys,
he's got to get Petunia.
I'll be honest, I kind of
Harry
miss
Potter
Biggs.
show.
I kind of miss Biggs a lot. So
Ooh,
just
funny. You know, you
know?
segment.
Why is that, Frank?
Do you
she has, you know, she has a cool job.
do you think Bix is going to start a rebel cell out there, or has she already? And that
Maybe.
might also be a further reason why Cassian,
Along with
She already
Marva.
knows Luthen.
Bix and Marv.
Yeah, she does know Luthen. Like,
Could you imagine if she has already been? Maybe she kept that close to the chest with Cassian too, and she's actually leading a rebel cell there already, and that's another step.
Maybe.
So you miss Bix?
Yeah.
I miss B2 emo.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant too.
Didn't I miss Kix? Wasn't that a cereal? Kix.
That's a Kix.
K-I-X. Is that around
Yeah.
anymore? I think that's
Kicks
gone.
That's for
Kicks are.
I miss Kitster.
That's tricks.
tricks.
Kicks are for kids. No, tricks are for kids. Kicks are for adults because there's no flavor to them, but it's the same. All right, sorry.
Anyway.
Whatever happened? Whatever happened?
Yeah, we're
to
talking
Kit-
about cereal, not.
What are your thoughts on the final on this arc, and what are your hopes for the next episode?
Whatever happened to Kitster? First of all,
Isn't it in Legends? What happened?
No, I feel like he showed up in a comic.
Yeah, he
I think
did.
he
Let me
did,
put a
yeah.
pin on it, and we'll save that for
Was
next
that
week's
canon
news.
or is it Legend? I think it is canon.
canon.
Right?
Yeah,
canon,
there was
canon.
something that came out for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I saw it.
Kind of like how you saw. I loved how you saw the 2 characters in Tatooine show up in Mandalorian. The names are escaping me right now because I'm very tired. The
don't know
big
who you are.
Tanta Baba and Boonta Eve.
his friend Luke Skywalker's friends. Tank and
Tango and Cash.
no
Tank and Dozer.
Yes. No, not Tank and Dozer. That's the Matrix. You guys know, everybody's screaming at, you know, Alex right now and Sean are probably screaming at the thing. With his friends, when he's talking about Biggs and Tank, and he's like, you're going to go to Tashi Station. He actually goes to Tashi Station.
Kitster.
From A New Hope, there was a deleted scene. Remember?
Oh
Did you
yeah,
ever
I
see
mean,
it?
Biggs and
Biggs, but then the other people.
Yeah.
Cammy's one of them.
Oh yeah, the other woman.
Yes.
that one.
They were in The
woman.
Mandalorian. Okay, let's just delete this because I just lost my Star Wars
Let's
card.
just lead us like that scene from.
I do believe it was Biggs, Cammy.
I remember that scene. I just don't remember the names.
Yeah. Anyways, Cammy, but so maybe Kitster will show up that way. But yeah. So
Yeah.
overall, what are your hopes for the next episode? What are your predictions? Because next time we see each other, it'll have already aired.
What?
That's how it works.
That's how time works, man.
Imagine trying to do this
That's actually
show.
how this show works.
Yeah.
You had mentioned, Kevin, that spark from this attack on the Empire and everyone freaking out about it.
Yeah.
And maybe like that's how we get reintroduced to Saw Gerrera and like him and his
Ooh,
and his
yeah.
and his
That's
and
right.
Got
him
the
and his-
attention, everybody.
Yeah, him and his team are like, we didn't hit it. You know, that's a reference to Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace.
That's right.
Hey,
Come from inside.
Bravo leader
Bravo leader.
says that.
Bravo, leader.
We didn't hit it. Saul Guerrera's going to say that, okay? And then he's going to be like, we got to find out who did this. And then that's how he gets integrated into this show.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Because it has to happen through Luthen, so we know it's not through Cassian.
But like, I was wondering, like,
Cammy and Fixer. Sorry.
There we go. Good job. Good job.
I was wondering, like, how do these rebel cells all communicate with one another? Because like,
Facebook.
if another rebel cell can find you, doesn't that mean the Empire could find you? You know what I mean? Like, aren't you supposed to be hiding?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of... If you watch Rebels, you kind of figure that out.
Yeah, if you knew about that. Does fulcrum mean anything to you?
Fulcrum?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
wow,
like,
I can't even-
It's like on like if you have like a seesaw.
I mean, I didn't
the,
look.
The,
I
the
can't.
little
All right,
pivot,
let's
the
just cut- let's
pivot
kill
point
the
in
I
the
think
middle.
this is going to be where
End
the
it.
episode
That would be
ends.
called a fulcrum.
I got homework for all you fans at home. There was a cool shout out for Devoran, which
DeLorean.
is no, not DeLorean, my friend.
88
Devoran,
miles an hour,
which
baby.
is the
You're going to see some serious shit.
one of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars was called Rookies, and that takes place
Yeah.
on Devoran. And so the thing that he's trying to sell, Luthen, talks about how there's no history or whatnot. That is Devoran, and that is a little shout out to the planet you see
An
in
Easter
the
egg,
episode.
if
But
you
guys,
will.
there's
Easter egg.
no Easter eggs in this show.
No Easter eggs.
No.
None at
This
all.
show did not lay an egg, I'll tell you that
And
much.
and we're 6 episodes in, and Daredevil still hasn't shown up.
On that note,
Oh,
we'd
boy.
like to say thank you for watching. We will be back, hopefully, in full force, all 4 of us again. So you'll get we miss you, Sean. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and you were probably yelling at us about Cammy and Fixer. But that's why we have you here for all those
if
names.
he made it this far in the episode, that's if he made it this far.
If he even
next-
pressed
if
play.
Stay tuned next week because I will wear this shirt.
Hey, you're gonna wear it.
I'm gonna wear it, and hopefully it'll hide my fat. So with that being said, my name is Kevin. This is Frank. This is Brandon, and we'll see you next week in a galaxy far, far away. Cue the Han Solo quote.
Scoundrel. Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.